Blazor to create a simple web application in which I present the various C# classes that I teach. And this is the Index.razor page that I just simply restructured. And it has three buttons down here. CS162AD is beginning C#. And this area here is simply a graphic that I'm changing out as I click on these different buttons. So here is the .NET MAUI cross-platform mobile app class, CS165DC. And then a little information about this advanced C# class 262AD. So that's our index page. I have the menu over here on the left-hand side, and then I created a high-low game. And the idea behind this game is we show a dealer's card, and then you have to guess whether your card is higher or lower, and see how long of a streak you can get going. So I'm going to click the next round button. And of course, this is all coded in C#. So a 9, I'm going to say it's lower, and I was wrong. And so I get a score here of 1 loss. I have 0 wins. I'm going to try another one. So an 8. And let's go higher again on this one. Okay, so I got 1 win, and my streak now is 1. Let's see if we can keep that going. Jack probably going to be lower, and it is. 8. Let's go lower. Oh, it's the same. So that's a push. They're excluded from the percent wins and streaks. So I still have a streak of 2 going. Next round. Chances are it's lower. Oh, and it's not. So my streak is over at 2, and I'm going to start my current streak now back at 0, and my wins and losses and pushes are 2, 2, and 1. So that's the game we're going to create. We're going to add another Razor page into our application to do this, and then we'll add that into the menu system. Let's go over to Visual Studio and create a new project that we will call Blazor HighLow. This project, of course, requires some image resources, and I made those available to you in our Canvas course site. There's an assets zip folder that you can download for this project, and it contains all of our different cards and also the graphics that we're going to use on that index page in terms of the different courses. There's actually 4 of them here. This one, the CS165DC, is an older one from when I taught Xamarin. It's been replaced by the CS165DC MAUI. So we have our 162, our 165DC, and our 262 images. Just a little blurb of text about each of those courses and some screenshots. Our cards are all named in a similar fashion. So it's cards underscore and then 4 digits in .png. Now those digits can be numbers. Actually, the first 2 are numbers. The second 2, other than this card back, which is labeled 0000, contains 2 characters. The first one, the one in the third spot, or that first character, those last 2, is either an S, H, D, or C for whether it's a spade, diamond, heart, or club. And then a number going from 2 to 9, and then a T for the 10, a J for the jack, a Q for the queen, a K for the king, and an A for the ace. And then that is repeated for the other suits. So when you have a pattern like that, it makes it fairly easy to do coding, and rather than copy and paste and change the names of all these when we create our list of all the cards, as you've seen before, I like to use Excel. So let me open this Excel spreadsheet. And here in this Excel spreadsheet, I have some information over here in column A that I'm going to use in concatenating. So, and then my index going from 00 down to 52 at the bottom. And then we have the 3rd and 4th letters of each of those cards. So for clubs going from C2 to CA, and spades S2 to SA, and then my card back is 00. I also gave a suit value of 1, 2, 3, or 4. I don't use that in this game, but this would allow you to basically use the same code over in another type of game, maybe a poker game where you want to see if they've gotten a flush. And then I give a card value to each card going from 2. So our deuce is a 2, our 10 is a 10, but then our jack is 11, queen is 12, king is 13, and ace is 14. And we'll use those numbers in comparing our 2 cards between our card and the dealer card. Having set that up, I use the fill down feature of Excel to do a lot of this. And then over here for our code, then we want to write the statements to put into C#. I'm going to concatenate the value in A1 and our index, and then our suit, and the value in A2, and then our suit with a comma, then our value, and then the value of A3. Now the A1, A2, and A3 are absolute references. So then, having written this first one, I can simply grab the little fill box and just fill down and have it write those statements for me. Quick way of writing repeating statements where there's a pattern and pasting into our code. And I'll let you know when you should come over and just copy all this and paste it in. Now let's jump over to Visual Studio. I'm going to start up Visual Studio and I'm going to create a new project. This will be a Blazor WebAssembly app. So I'll choose that, go next. And I'm going to call this HighLow. Choose where I want to save it and click next. I'm going to make this a .NET 6.0, even though 8.0 just came out. By the way, the even numbers are the long-term support. The odd numbers, such as .NET 7, have a shorter lifespan. And here then is our Blazor boilerplate template. I'm going to start by going into the www root, and we're going to add a folder, and we'll label it images. I'm going to right click on that folder and choose add existing item. I want to go find that Blazor demo assets folder that we downloaded from Canvas. I'm going to open that up and I'm going to select everything. So basic Control A. I don't need the Excel sheet, so I'm going to do a control click on Excel to deselect that. And then I'll simply choose the add button. And that'll add all those images into our images folder. So once you verify that that's happened, you can roll up that folder, roll up the www root. Let's open up the shared folder and we'll go to the main layout.razor, expand that. Let's go into the CSS file. We'll make a couple changes here. I'm going to change the RGB reference here to be hashtag CF7F00. That is the South Mountain orange color. So we're going to create a gradient from that to, and we're going to change this color to EE-A8-3A. So this is going to change our gradient. Let's just test to see what it looks like. So now we have a gradient going from a darker orange down to a lighter orange. I'll go ahead and close that. Let's also go over to our nav menu razor. Go to the CSS. I'm going to scroll down to the nav-item :deep A:hover. That's down about line 48. And I'm going to change this 0.1 to a 0.9. Now that is our transparency. So we're going to make this more opaque. We're going to change the color here from white to dark orange. I'll test again. And now our menu, as we hover over items, the text is in a dark orange. And I'll end. Next, we'll go into our Pages folder. Let's open up the Index.razor. I'm going to select the code that's there. And I'm going to enter some new code for our layout. Through the magic of video, let me pause here. I'll come back and discuss what I did. So start with the page title, C# at South Mountain Community College, and then an H1 tag, hello current and future C# programming students. a paragraph tag with the ending paragraph tag. And Professor Stephen Hustedde welcomes you to the C# programming cohort and then the strong is bold text, so South Mountain Community College is bold, and then in Phoenix, Arizona. Set up another paragraph, this time I'm changing the style to a dark orange color and the font size small. This site was developed with C# and Blazor WebAssembly. And then another paragraph, Stephen Hustedde has been teaching at SMCC for over 30 years and has taught a variety of topics and programming languages, but C# is his favorite language to both teach and develop software projects. C# is very versatile and can be used for many different tasks. Then the UL tag is an unnumbered list. It's going to give us a bulleted list, and the style here, the color will be blue. So list LI is a list item, so list item in Windows application development, cross-platform apps with Xamarin/.NET MAUI, where the focus is Android and iOS, 2D and 3D games with the Unity gaming engine, dynamic web pages with ASP.NET, interactive web pages with Blazor, and cloud APIs and cloud services. We could add other list items such as Internet of Things, but that's a pretty comprehensive list of what C# is used for. And then a closing /UL that closes our unnumbered list, and a closing paragraph tag. Another paragraph, he currently teaches 3 different C# classes. Click each button. Then I'll create a little table. The TR is a table row tag. So we have a row, and then in that row is a TD tag standing for table data cell. So we'll have 3 cells going across that row. Each of those are going to contain a button. So the buttons are all centered. The button class is BTN-primary. I create an ID of BTN and the name of the course, and then the style. And we're going to create styles for the CS 162, 165, and 262. Color, text color 1, text color 2, text color 3. And then our on click, we're going to show CS 162, 165 DC, and 262. And then here's the text that is in that button. CS 162 AD, CS 165 DC, CS 262 AD. And then closing our button, closing our table data cell. Closing our table row, closing the table. And I have a blank paragraph here, and then an H3 header tag, the small header. It says message, @message, and then an image that's a source of @image course. We're going to change that image by giving it a width of 600 and a height of 547. So that's our layout. Now let's add in the code for those buttons. Now when I added the code, those squigglies underneath our color CS162 AD and text color 1, those all disappeared because we're going to reference those in our code. So here's the code. We're doing an @code with brackets, and then here's the variables I set up. So static string color non-selected is blue, static string color selected is a yellow. And then we have our strings for color CIS162 AD, which is color selected. Color CS162 DC is color non-selected, as is the CIS262 AD. Our text colors are going to be black, white, and white for those 3 text colors. And then we have a message of CS162 C# programming level 1. And then our image, we're going to start with the blazor-cs162.ping file that we put into our www root folder, images folder. So I have 3 methods. One is public void show CS162 AD. We're going to change the message to CS162 AD, C# programming level 1, change the colors of our 3 buttons, and change the image. We're doing the same thing on the other 2, just modifying what is in the message and modifying the color so that the selected button is basically highlighted. Now if we go back up to our table, the on-click commands for those 3 buttons were show CS162 AD, show CS165 DC, and show CIS262 AD. And so that corresponds then, of course, to our 3 methods down here. So again, I'm going to test. And so now our home shows the information that we put into the index. Since we redid the index, all of our text is there, the colors, and we'll test our 3 buttons, and they work. Next, we'll add in a page for our HighLow game and code that. I'm going to go to the Pages folder and right-click on it and choose Add Razor Component, or you can go to New Item and find the Razor component. And we're going to name this HighLow.razor. Click Add. And currently we have just an H3 code that says HighLow. Let me delete that and type in the UI code in HTML that we're going to use, and I'll come back and discuss that. I start with an @ page, and then the reference to my page, which is going to be the root level, so it's /HighLow. I did all lowercase. Did some comments in here. The page title is going to be higher or lower, and then a higher or lower headline of H1. Paragraph, set the color to dark orchid and the font size as the style, and just says basically this was created as part of the CS262AD class. And then a paragraph, going to up the size a little bit. This will contain our statistics. So we have a bold strong of stats and a property of @current count and games played. And then BR is a break in the paragraph. So it's really you think of it as a carriage return or line feed. Number of wins. And then we're going to set the current wins as a property @current wins, and that's going to be bolded in red. We're going to do the same thing for losses. We have @current losses. For pushes, that's going to be where there's a tie, same card, both dealer and player. Percentage of wins, the current streak, the longest streak, and those are all tied into properties that we'll code. And then another break that just simply says nope, push games are excluded from % wins and streaks. And we end our paragraph. Then we have a table. This is going to contain the 2 cards. So a table row and then a table data cell. That's our first column, which is going to say your card. And then if the image player is not null, so image player is going to be our image, we'll set the source to @image player, give it a width and height of 240 and 330. Otherwise, we'll show an image of that card being the back of the card. So cards_000.png, again, same height and width. Next, that's another table data cell. So we close that table data cell, new table data cell. This will be the dealer's card, basically the same information other than we're using @image_dealer. We're going to close our H2 tag, our table data cell, table row, and table. We're going to have a paragraph with current message, where we'll tell the user whether they won or lost or pushed. And then 3 buttons at the bottom, like we did before on the previous index page. We're going to set some properties for disabled, next bool, lower bool, higher bool, and then our click commands, next round, lower and higher, and then the text of our buttons. And then below that will be our code. So I'm going to pause here and type in my code and come back and walk you through the code. Before we code the HighLow.razor page in terms of the interactive code, we need to add a class for our cards. So I'm going to right click on my solution, choose add, and we're going to add a class. And that class is going to be Card.cs. Let me code that and come back and walk you through my code. So here's the code. We have some properties for image name, image URL, suit int, suit name, card value, and card name.
And then I have a couple of arrays here. We have a string array, a suit name array of card, spades, hearts, diamonds, and clubs. And then another one for the card name array. Back is going to be index 0, blank is index 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack, queen, king, and ace. So corresponding to the different faces of our cards. Then we have a constructor where we're passing it the image name. The image URL will include the name with the path, the suit, and the card value. The suit and card values are integers that equate to the indexes of our two arrays. Thus we can set the suit name and the card name from those arrays. So spades will be 1, clubs will be 4. For the card name array, element 1 will be a blank, and then 11 is jack, 12 would be queen, 13 would be king, and 14 would be the ace. With that completed, we can now go back to our RAZor, HighLow.razor package, and let's do the code. To start off with the code in our HighLow.razor file, we have a bunch of variables here. We're going to keep track of the items that we had listed up above in the UI. We have a couple nullable strings for image player and image dealers. We're using that if structure. And our current message saying click the next round button to begin play. Then I have a list called deck of type card, and we're going to call a method called create deck, where we're going to take that code that we wrote in the Excel program and paste that in. We want a random number generator, or just call it RND. For the next round, we're going to take the index and have it set to 52 plus 1. That's going to give us a number between 1 and 52. Dealer IDX is 0, and then while the dealer IDX is equal to 0, or the dealer card that comes up randomly is the same as the card chosen for the player, we're going to regenerate another card. Again, we're going to do next to 52 plus 1 gives us a value between 1 and 52, and we can pull then the index from our card list. So the image player is going to equal deck sub 0 dot image URL, and the deck image dealer will equal deck dealer IDX image URL. Going to set the next bool to true, the lower bool to false, and the higher bool to false. Then if they choose lower, we're basically going to show the card and tell them that if their card is lower than the dealer card they won, otherwise we'll tell them it's the same if they're equivalent or that they lost. So it's doing that all in an if, else structure, and then setting our Boolean values to false, true, and true, and updating the percentage. Here's our method to update the percent, just taking the current wins divided by the total plays minus the pushes, and doing the same thing here in higher. So if they chose higher and the card was higher than the dealer, we'll tell them they won. Again, a push if they're the same, or lost if not. And then here's where we're creating our card deck. Here's my method to create the deck. We're going to list of type card named deck equals a new list of type card. And then here's that code that I pasted in from Excel. So I went to Excel, and in column E, I copied those lines of code that we generated from our formula, came in here and just pasted that in. So we're passing that new card is the image that we want to use, the card suit, and the card value. And we return deck. We have one more thing to do, and that is to go into our nav menu.razor page. I'm going to change the first item was displayed on the menu to C# at SMCC. The second item, we have a hyperreference or a counter. We're going to change that to HighLow, is what we put in at the top of that page for our HighLow.razor page. Let's change the word counter here to high/low game. And I don't need the third item, so I'm going to select it and delete it. And now we're ready to test. Our page comes up with C# at SMCC as our first link. That's our index page. And we saw earlier that the buttons all worked. Let's click on the high-low game. And we can click next round. The dealer gets a king. I'm going to say my card will be lower. Oh, and it's a push. Let's try another next round. Jack, I'm going to say lower, and it is. And so I now have a win and a push, and I'm 100% on the wins. Next round, 5. This should be higher. Let's go higher here. So I'm on a roll. I've got a streak of 4 going. And obviously I'm playing the odds, and I missed. So my longest streak was 6, and my current streak now goes back to 0, and I have 6 wins, 1 loss, and 1 push, and I can keep playing. But right now I'm at a percentage of 85%, and that's pretty good. I hope you enjoyed this look at creating a Blazor web app. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the C# Xamarin Programming Cohort playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos that I create, you can click my picture up in the top right and subscribe to the channel.